operate. Oh, shoot. Better not. Give it just a minute, guys, to let some folks get in here. Get set up where I can read the comments. So I'm not going to wait too long for everybody to get in. I'm not going to ramble on forever on this one. Just had some stuff on my mind that I wanted to get out there. So, as you all know, there's this big spinny, stormy thing sitting not too far off the coast of Florida, aka Hurricane Dorian. Nothing that any of us are a stranger to that live here in the great state. But there are a few unique things about this storm that I wanted to just touch on real quick. And some stuff that I actually have a list that I want to go over, and some of it's kind of some gripes, irritations, etc. Some of it's just some things to point out. So, first off, right now, Dorian is a Category 5 hurricane with sustained winds of 175 mile an hour and gusts over 200. In case you're not familiar with that, folks, that's a monster. That is a storm that will destroy pretty much anything and everything it wants to. Its physical size is not as big as some other Category 5 hurricanes, but that is expected to change because it's fixing to stall over the Bahamas, and as it stalls, it's going to be sitting over very warm water and basically like sitting at a gas station fueling up. The forecast models for this have been all over the place. And the point that it's at now with its strength and the environmental factors that are coming in, there's a lot of uncertainty. I know the National Hurricane Center's got up its track cone and all that, but there's some things that I think some folks, probably not many of you watching, but that some people need to keep in mind about this. The forecast cone that the NHC shows is not the effects of the storm. People see that cone and tend to think, okay, well, if I'm outside that cone or on the edge of the cone, then I'm okay, I'm out of the woods, whatever. That cone is for the eye. The eye could conceivably track anywhere inside that cone that's lit up. The effects of the storm reach far, far further out than where that eye could travel. Hence why the physical size of the storm is important to pay attention to. Like right now, tropical storm force winds are extending out, I think, around 150 miles from the center. So that's a 300 plus mile wide storm. If it skirts up the coast of Florida, as is currently being forecast, the state of Florida is only about 150 miles wide at its widest point for the most part. If it's 20 miles off the coast, the eye wall, and you've got tropical storm winds extending out 150 miles from that, that's reaching well into the center 3/4 over of the state. So don't get wrapped up, if you're in the area, around that cone. And remember, the eye can go anywhere in that cone. So it's all going to be on what this thing does in the course of the next 2 to 3 days. So good news and bad news. It's forecast to stall over the Bahamas. Normally, that's a bad thing because as a hurricane stalls, as it's pulling up warm water, it starts pulling up the colder water from beneath the top layer of warm water. However, it's stalling in the Bahamas and right where the Gulf Stream comes up. So as it pulls up that warm water, the Gulf Stream is steadily feeding it fresh, new warm water. So it's getting an IV to just do what it wants. That means it's probably going to physically change in size and get bigger, okay, which means it's going to cover a broader area. And even as it stands right now, as strong and well organized as the storm is, these things tend to have a mind of their own and don't necessarily always play by the rules. And I'm saying all that because there are people here within the state of Florida who are now dismissing this storm. They think they're in the clear, everything's done, because the NHC is showing after the stall a sharp 90-degree turn heading north and then curving out. These storms of this size are not common, and storms of this strength aren't that common, and it's definitely not common for all the different environmental factors to be in play that this one has. So there's a lot of unknowns and questions that they haven't experienced. Now, some meteorologists are already starting to say they don't quite see how a storm this strong is going to make that sharp 90-degree turn. It's easier for smaller storms to do it, or weaker storms, but not one this strong. So as it creeps over the Bahamas over the next day or two, instead of making that 90-degree turn, it could make more of an arc. And there are some models now showing it actually scraping the coast of Florida and potentially making like a half-eye landfall, hitting the coast and bouncing off. If that happens, there's going to be hurricane and tropical storm stuff way into the state. We are not out of the woods yet. I'm already seeing reports from folks down kind of in the center of the state. I'm up more in the northeastern part, that they're already returning stuff to stores that they bought, generators and supplies and that sort of thing. You're not going to be able to say this thing is, we're out of the woods until it's up around South Carolina. Once it's up that way, then you can safely say, okay, we're out of the woods. I've seen comments on some of the live videos of watching for the forecast and everything of people saying that save your money, preparing for this is just stupid. Well, when some of the top meteorological minds in the world and country are saying they're not 100% sure what it's going to do, I don't think your little magic 8-ball is going to give you any better information than what they're doing. So don't listen to people that tell you being prepared for something like this is stupid. As you know, if you're here, I advocate being prepared for stuff all the time. Leads into another point. I've watched, and so have some friends, that we stay prepared for this stuff 24/7. What that gives us the benefit of doing is We get to sit back and watch all the other people panic and go to the store and fight over cases of water, fight at the gas stations for gas. We've already seen, some of my personal friends have already witnessed and reported fights breaking out at gas stations, people being arrested for it. People like us that are ready for this stuff 24/7, we get to sit back and watch all the other people be stupid and panic. It's another reason why we push preparedness so hard, and why I always tell you to ignore the people who talk about you being paranoid all the time because you're prepared. We all know it's quite the opposite. By being prepared, we can relax. We can be calm. We don't get stressed out about stuff because we know we're ready for it. All these other people now, their anxiety levels are through the roof. They're stressing out, they're freaking out. They don't know what to do, don't know who to listen to. You know what? It doesn't matter for me. If it hits, I'm ready. If it doesn't hit, I'm ready. Either way, I'm perfectly fine, stress-wise. One other thing to touch on real quick, and this is just my somewhat libertarian side coming out. It pushes my buttons. In a true free market environment, there is no such thing as price gouging. You're going to see those buzzwords thrown up, even by conservatives. Bang, wrong. Nice try, but thanks for playing. There is no such thing as price gouging. The free market dictates supply and demand, which in turn dictates prices. Period. End of story. That's it. Free companies are free to choose, free to ask whatever they want for their products, and us as consumers are free to pay or not pay. It creates competition, which means somebody somewhere else might want to offer it a little bit lower to get the sales to beat out the person offering it higher, which in turn means the person offering it higher suddenly has to drop their price to compete or they don't sell anything. You have to let the free market work. I'll end my rant on that. Finally, when it comes to storms like this, you do not prepare for what a hurricane like this might do. You prepare for what it can do, okay? That's the only smart way to go about this. What it might do and what it can do are two different things. Worrying about what it might do, you're going to find yourself with your pants down. If you get ready for what it can do, then either way you're covered. And that's an important thing that I think too many people don't pay attention to and don't really grasp the concept of. So that's about enough of the rants on that stuff. I have partaken and been part of a major Category 5 hurricane impact in the U.S. I was down in South Florida for Hurricane Andrew in an official capacity. I know what storms can do. I know what people can do. I've seen the stuff firsthand. It's no joke, and it's not something to take lightly. I'm going to see if I can get my stuff caught up here so I can check comments. But so as this storm stalls, right, there's a high pressure above it blocking it, so it can't go north yet. That's why it's moving west. High pressure is supposed to dip down over Florida, which is supposed to keep turning it because it bumps into it and wants to turn north. Hurricanes naturally want to go north. The problem is, as it stalls, that high pressure system can move, because it's kind of like this, it can move over and around it, which opens up the way. Instead of it making a 90-degree turn, it makes more of an arc and can bump into the state. Over the next couple of days, watch closely where the track takes it. For every 10 or 15 miles further west that it shifts before it turns is going to mean higher potential of it bumping into the state and then potentially ricocheting and bouncing into Georgia or South Carolina. 2 years ago, when Irma come through, Irma was forecast to turn and go up the East Coast. It kept going west. Then it was forecast to come straight up the middle of the state. it kept going west. It slowed down, not to the extent that Dorian's slowing down, but it slowed down. It let the high pressure move, and then it turned up and basically come up more of the west coast of the state. So they had all those models wrong up until literally the days it was making its turn. I mean, they were getting that one wrong all the way. So don't get wrapped up. Again, once, like I said, when this thing is up around South Carolina, then Florida, we can say we're in the clear, okay? The Bahamas. You have got a storm with 175 mile an hour sustained winds that's likely to grow and over 200 mile per hour wind gusts. It's going to sit on top of the Bahamas for potentially over 24 hours. I have a very bad feeling, and I will be perfectly happy to be wrong. I have a bad feeling that the scope and landscape and status of the Bahamas is about to be forever changed. 24 hours of 175 to 200 plus mile per hour winds and a storm surge that's unprecedented is not going to be good for those islands. I've been to the Bahamas. They're flat islands, okay? It's not like Puerto Rico and Haiti and some other places where they got hills and mountains and all that. The Freeport and, if I wasn't trying to say it, I can remember it. The other one, the Bahama Islands are pretty flat. There's not much to them. They've already recorded over 33-foot waves in the storm. I want y'all to think about 33-foot waves is 3 stories high. That's on top from the water level up. That's not counting the storm surge that has raised the water level. That's a massive amount of water being moved. So, Bahamas, I think they're probably going to be in the news through the next week, 2 weeks, whatever. I hope they can come through it okay, but I've got a really, really bad feeling about what they're going to look like when this thing's done with it. Again, watch over the next 3 days what the stall does. The more it starts creeping to the west, the more I bet you're going to see those the forecast traffic shift back. If it starts to turn sooner, then that's a good thing for the East Coast. But for every 5 or 10 miles it creeps, and that's literally what we're talking about, 5 or 10 miles at a time here, that it creeps closer to the coast, the greater the impact's going to be, and it does not have to make landfall for us to see a big impact. Now, it could just as easily make that 90-degree turn north and go up, and we could barely see anything more than just some scattered rain showers along, the coastal areas and a little ways inland. At this point, it's too hard to say, and nobody knows. So that's kind of the biggest thing at this point is I see so many people who are commenting, oh, well, we're already in the clear, everything's cool, it's all said and done. We ain't even got nowhere near being able to say we're in the clear. Even once it starts its turn north, as it's moving north up the coast, it could just as easily tilt and come into the coast. Once that eye is up in the Georgia, South Carolina area, then you're in the clear. That's all I'm saying. So, I'm trying to look at the comments real quick. Kinda, Uman. It kind of would be like one tsunami after the other, but then it could also be just like one never-ending tsunami. The water just comes in and stays. It never goes back out. I mean, yeah, I'm telling you, it's going to strengthen. It's over cooler water now than what it's fixing to move into. So it's strengthening in the cooler water, and it's fixing to get, as I've heard a couple of places say, it's fixing to get a jolt of high octane. I mean, it's fixing to get the nitrous switch flipped. Okay, when it hits that Gulf Stream, that's going to be like somebody hooking an IV up to it with just nonstop adrenaline. It's going to potentially just pump that thing up. The slower it goes, the bigger it can physically grow in size. Okay, fast moving storms tend to stay pretty small because they're moving too fast to physically grow. When it grows big, when it slows down, that's when the physical size grows. And all that means is just the effects of it cover a broader area. It doesn't, the size of the storm is often irrelevant to the strength of the storm. The two aren't co-joined, right? You could have a giant storm that's only a Cat 1, and you can have a little teeny one that's a Cat 5. So, but when you've got a Cat 5 that's really big, then you've got all the ingredients there for bad stuff. I'm not planning on evacuating. We are as ready as we can possibly be for it. Like I said in the beginning, we stay ready. Hello, Crystal. We've got fuel, generators already checked, chainsaws checked, got food, got water. I'm on a well, so as long as I got gas for my generator, I got water. My parents live just down a little bit from us. They're stocked up on fuel and got their generator ready and their food, so they're good to go. I've already touched base with a few of the neighbors. They're all set and ready. I'll probably, if conditions warrant it, my best friend and his family will be coming to stay with us, so I'll have backup help here. So yeah, we're set. We're not going anywhere. I'm not right on the coast. I'm a little ways inland, so the storm surge and whatnot isn't going to be a concern for me. Other than the St. Johns River, if you look on a map, where the St. Johns River is at, it opens into the Atlantic. Those counterclockwise winds on the north side of that storm are just going to be pushing water up that St. Johns River, and it's going to just fill it up and fill up every tributary that runs off of it. And as such, the concern for us really is the rain. While those tributaries fill up, we're already pretty saturated just from regular summer daily rains. There's nowhere for all that water to go. So if we get a lot of rain dumped on us, that could be a potential issue because it won't take much wind to start dropping trees left and right. The ground will just be so wet and saturated, you could go outside and sneeze hard and it'll start dropping trees. So in that scenario, tropical depressions, tropical storm winds could easily take the power out for an extended period. Not saying it will, I'm saying it could if everything all played out, right. I just saw a comment flash by. We have plenty of this, okay? I've got a full number 10 can, plus a couple of extra smaller bags, and I got a grocery store not too far away that last I checked yesterday, they still got plenty of coffee left. So if need be, I could stock up on some more. That said, I think I'm good. Excuse me. So, sorry guys. So yeah, I'm ready. We keep looter repellent handy all the time. So, ready for pretty much any eventuality. Where I live at, it's kind of a looter's nightmare because the neighbors are all on board with stuff, and it wouldn't end well. But fortunately, I've got some first-hand experience dealing with looters and their like, so it's not my first rodeo in that regards. Just a word, don't do it. I'm just saying. Especially don't do it in Florida. because Florida, after hurricane, tends to really, generally speaking, not have a lot of sympathy for looters. Will Jacksonville be affected much? We don't know. That's the whole point. At this point, we don't know what it's going to do. There are models that are showing it staying just off the coast, which would still give us a bunch of wind and rain. There are models having it make a partial landfall right at Jacksonville. I don't know. Nobody does. This thing is up in the air. There's a lot yet to go on this thing, and unfortunately, the waiting is mind-numbing. And the waiting, my concern, gets people complacent. They start losing interest in it. They start looking at that cone again, thinking, okay, we're out of the woods, it's not going to come. And then all of a sudden, bam, you get the warning issued. Oh, it shifted, it's coming this way. And too late to go back and do anything, which is why I said the reports I'm seeing earlier of people further down in Central Florida already returning stuff to the stores. That blows my mind. You're in Florida. Why would you return it? If you don't need it now, you might need it later. It's just, hurricanes aren't the only thing we prepare for. Hurricanes just happen to be one of those things that's covered under all of our preparations. That's why we be prepared for crap. I understand why that's such a difficult concept for people. Of all my preparations, when it comes to weather and such, my generator is probably the one thing I've used over the years more than anything else. Just saying, if you got one, don't return it, hang on to the sucker. You're going to have to turn around and buy one again at a later date. It's almost guaranteed. Mr. D, just talking about looters, if it got trashed real bad by some chance, that Florida doesn't really take kindly to looters after bad storms and stuff. There's usually not a whole lot of sympathy for them. So I was just advising, if something did happen, don't do it. It's just not a good idea. Just saying. What else? I wish I had my thing where I could look at my notes again. Oh well. So that's about it. I mean, we don't know what it's going to do. We don't know where it's going to go. We know it's going to go somewhere, we just don't know where or when. There's Hurricane Dorian for you in a nutshell, which kind of correlates to, I don't know, maybe everything else happening in the world in regards to being prepared. We know there's something going to happen down the road. We know there's bad times coming. We just don't know where, when, and under what scope. I mean, that's pretty much a common theme that we talk about all the time, right? So you don't treat this any differently. You be prepared for it. You just be prepared. What else? Nah, there wouldn't be any way it could affect the well. It's too deep. I think my well's like 175, 150, 175 foot deep. So that's not really a concern. The only concern is if I run out of gas for the generator and can't run the pump. That'd be the only issue. What else? The bad thing for me is power outage and not being able to work, because I can't run all my sewing machines with everything else that I got, because my primary focus is keeping my refrigerators and freezer running so I don't lose everything in them, keeping water going, and that sort of thing. So when I get all that stuff running, running the sewing machines and all the related equipment's kind of secondary. So unfortunately, that just delays my work time even more than it annoyingly already is. But rest assured, I'll probably be working right up to the point that the power goes out. Well, they're already recording gusts of over 200 miles an hour. Um, so I mean, they're sustained at 175. Somebody said a while ago they're already mentioning 180 now, and I know for a fact Weather Service Hurricane Center said earlier that they already got gusts over 200. So it's already pushing winds over 200, and it still hasn't hit the Gulf Stream yet, which is nothing but tons of hot water. So you're fixing to dump a whole bunch of fuel into a really strong storm. Yeah, a treadle machine won't sew what I sew. Just too much material, too thick, too hard. You got to have a big electric machine. So, wow, 45 people. I think that might be a new record. So any of y'all just coming in? No, I'm not right on the coast. I'm more inland a little bit, but I'm not far enough inland that I won't be getting smacked with it good. Um, let's see. F-18. I'm glad you like it, man. If you have any questions or issues, let me know. So yeah, for any of y'all that are new, just coming in, just to reiterate, don't believe anything is concrete right now. We don't know where this thing's going to go or what it's going to do. Jammer, Savannah, keep your eyes on it. It could very easily come right into Savannah, just like Jacksonville. And even if it skirts the coast, with the size of it, if it's 30 miles off the coast, you could be getting really strong tropical storm winds fairly far inland. So Savannah's not out of the woods either. What else? I think that's all the high points I wanted to hit for everything. So yeah, now it's just sit and wait. Houston? You mean Houston, Texas? Houston? I don't have anything going on over near Houston. It's not going into the Gulf. At least it shouldn't. I think there's enough of a blocking pressure to keep it from crossing the state fully. The question now is, does it go inland a little bit and go north? Does it skirt the coast and go north? Does it stay offshore and go north? It's gonna go north. It's just a matter of when. So, Texas, y'all are in the clear. Gas, as much as you can get. My problem here is being able to store it safely. I've got about 25 gallons on hand, but I don't run my generator 24/7 whenever I'm using it. So like previous storms, I usually run it for a couple hours, let the refrigerators and freezers stay cold, and turn it off for about 3 or 4 hours, turn it back on for a few hours, turn it off for a couple hours. That'll let the well pump keep the bladder tank pressurized so we can flush toilets, go to the bathroom, have running water. So I just don't turn it on and leave it on. So that stretches my fuel a lot further. It all depends on how big your generator is, how efficient it is, and how much you're going to be running with it, and how long you want to run it. So, I was part of Andrew down in South Florida. I was down there for that. I experienced the fun that was Andrew. Yep, canoes to the moon. We're ready. We've already got our plans in place. Like I said, if need be, my best friend and his family are going to come stay with us because his area is a little bit prone to flooding, just with heavy rainstorms. So he doesn't want to get stuck where he's at and can't get out, due to the flooding. So he'll come here and stay with me. So we've got all of our plans already ready. At this point, it would literally be one text message and we're in motion. That's it. That's all we've got to do. So. I think that's it. Let me see what well, if I had the money for solar, I'd have it. Now, at our family's property, that's our actual retreat location that I've got, that family lives at, we are on all solar. It's 100% solar powered. But you got to remember, number one, solar is expensive. If I had the money to go all solar here, I would, but I ain't got the money for that. So I have to do the next best thing. Number two, solar panels sometimes don't like hurricanes because, as Ron White once said, it's not that the wind is blowing, it's what the wind is blowing. And 150 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour winds tend to carry things in it that when it hits solar panels, they don't react well to it. So solar panels are kind of hit and miss when it comes to hurricanes. You can easily have non-functioning panels afterwards. I'm reading some comments real quick, guys. Let me get caught up here and see what y'all are saying. Come on, you stupid phone. All right, so moving up to some other stuff. Texas shooter, no, I have not seen much from him, which leads me to think that it probably doesn't fit the narrative that they like for those shooters to fit. So that's why you hadn't heard much. I don't know. Conjecture on my part. Matt has just been busy with stuff. He and I are gonna get together soon. I've been in touch with him, and he's ready for the storm too. So that's not a concern for him. Let's see. Nope, not a new camera. Same one. Craig, that's slow right now, brother. I've just been kind of having to do stuff on my own. I haven't been where I could go back to class any for a while. And I have good days and bad days. Sometimes my back limits what I can do and what I can't do. So, as the man once said, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. Uman, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. They're probably flushing social media like mad. Of course, that was probably already done right away. Well, Craig, yeah, work tends to kind of occupy a lot of that time as well, which is why I haven't been able to actually go to class any. So I just kind of practice my stuff on my own here at home when I can. Work doesn't allow for a lot of time to get away from the house. What else? I know we said Dorian and stuff. Cornell, yeah, I'm going to get with Matt on that. There's some things we want to try to go over. We've both just been really busy and occupied with stuff. It's been hard to connect and get hooked up physically together to get anything done. So I know there's stuff on that front that I want to get covered with him and let him update y'all on. Quasar, what's going on? So yeah, with work and family stuff and everything, that's another reason why I hadn't gotten any videos up anytime recently. It just haven't had the physical time to do them. Animal preps, really the same thing that you do for yourself. I mean, make sure you got food, water, and medicine, for them, whatever they need. If you've got livestock and that sort of thing, that'll just all depend on your area, and if you've got a suitable place to give them shelter and flood prone, that sort of thing. I mean, got to kind of go with that as it comes. What else? Trying to watch comments here and see what you guys are. So, I'm assuming y'all saw the shooting yesterday. I know we just touched on that briefly a while ago. Not a whole lot out there about that. I did have one friend point out that it's kind of coincidence that I think tomorrow, I could be wrong. I think tomorrow, some new laws in Texas are supposed to go into place which actually relax some of their gun control stuff and eases it up. And it was awfully coincidental that you have such a shooting right here before those gun restrictions are supposed to ease up. It is kind of curious, I'll admit that. Will it be below 900 millibars? There ain't one person knows that, and that's the person that made the thing. So the good Lord hadn't told me what he's going to do with it yet. I would be most grateful if he did, but he hadn't. So could it go below 900 millibars? Yeah, the storms have done it before. Just keep in mind, the lower that pressure drops, the stronger that thing is. That's just hand in hand. Of course, Sarah, you may be right. I couldn't remember if it was today that stuff kicked in or tomorrow or what. I've got so much going on and rambling, I've lost track of some of those actual dates. But again, it's curious. I'm not saying it's anything, concrete related, but it's curious. I'll say that. I don't think you could, because for something like that, a hurricane is going to be too small in scope to affect something that another country would need to do something to us, and secondly, nobody's doing anything in the hurricane itself. There ain't nothing out there that's going to do anything in 200 plus mile an hour winds and 35 foot waves. Well, here's the thing. Hurricanes like this have been hitting this area since recorded history. So my thoughts are, unless HARP existed back in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, then no, probably not. Now, I'm not saying that they're not actively trying to work on such things. They very well could be. But there have been monster storms that have hit, the southeastern U.S. from Texas all the way to the Carolinas since before recorded history. I mean, there's evidence of that all over. So, kind of hard to buy into that one, And if it was, if they could do that, why wouldn't they be doing it more often? Why once every so many years? What's the point? It doesn't really accomplish anything. They may be trying. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not trying. I'm just saying you can't say that that's what big hurricanes are, because big hurricanes have been in existence since forever. It's kind of like when people start screaming about the global warming and stuff. Well, until you can tell me what global temperatures were in 1381 and 1456 or any other year from history, you can't tell me it's been global warming. you can't base global warming off of the last 130 years of recorded history. That is way too small of a scope to try to figure out what the planet's been doing. It's stupid. And there's plenty of evidence that it all goes in very long cycles anyway, longer than what our human lifespans are. Yeah, when it comes to the climate stuff, yeah, I'm a bit of a skeptic on some of that, just because Mother Nature's Mother Nature. It's been doing its thing since the beginning of time. And personally, I only think there's one entity that can control nature, and I don't believe it's us. So that's just me. What else we got? I could use this as an opportunity to give y'all the usual speech about, paying attention to national politics and that sort of thing, but I figure y'all are probably bored with that by now. So here's the Reader's Digest abbreviated version. Things aren't good politically. If there's guns, ammo, or mags that you want, go get them now. Don't wait. Yes, some of my weapons do have lights. This one has a light. This one has a light. Some of my others don't have lights. Just depends on which ones are for which purposes as to whether they have lights or not. Let's see. Quasar, I don't know. That's the first I've ever heard of such a thing. I'll have to look into it. I will look into it. I've never heard of any actual treaties per se. I've heard of other stuff, but not any treaties. So I'll look into it. Give me some reading material. Let's see. Excuse me just a second, guys. Sorry, I had to answer a question from my son real quick. Anytime I see those come in now, I have to stop answering, because some of you may remember when I was trying to get in a I was in a live stream with Real War Prepper and a zombie farmer, and part way into it, got a phone call. My son was being taken to the emergency room by ambulance, so I had to kind of bail real quick. So whenever I see messages coming in, I tend to try to check them, answer them real quick. Okay. Let's see. Oil lamps for power outages. Yeah, I've got some. I've got battery powered lamps. I've got oil lamps. I've got candles. I've got chem lights. I've got flashlights. Cover the spectrum. Have everything. Doesn't mean you got to have a whole lot of any individual one, but have everything. I've got, I think I got 4 oil lamps, and then a couple of jugs extra oil for them, and they're all full to start with. So the problem with oil lamps is anything that makes fire is going to give off heat. And in the summertime, with no AC indoors, heat isn't necessarily always a good thing to be given off inside your house. It's going to make it more uncomfortable than it already is, which is why battery-powered lamps and lanterns are usually a better option than fire-powered light, for lack of a better term. Sandbags. It's kind of cool that you mentioned that. I keep showing on the news various places of people filling sandbags. And we've got between me and my cousin, a couple of places, we've got a couple of cases of them. But what I see being shown on the news is people going to these sandbag stations and getting sandbags. And a couple of observations. Number one, they're only putting about 10 or 15 of them in their car because sand is heavy. And most modern vehicles, family vehicles, can't handle the kind of weight that sand brings with it. So about 10 or 15, and you've got the family sedan tail end down. You're not going to do a whole lot with 10 or 15 sandbags. You're just not. It takes a whole lot of them to do anything actually effective. The other thing I see when people are filling these sandbags, they physically can't lift them because they're heavy. So what they end up doing is they're only filling the sandbag about half full. So they're really only getting half a sandbag because that's all they can physically pick up and carry and move. So there's multiple problems there when people try to start using sandbags. If you've ever been in the military, I don't know about current times, but back in the olden days, late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when me and some of my friends were all doing it, we had to fill sandbags to dig fighting positions and all that kind of thing. Filling sandbags is a pain in the butt. Making sandbags that are actually effective is a pain in the butt. There's a lot of physical labor involved in it, and it takes a lot of them to do anything. You're better off with, honestly, something like HESCO barriers, but then that falls into the realm of it takes a lot more work to fill them. Once you get them placed, it ain't something that you just pick up and move around. So, there's a lot of things to take in consideration with that. Excuse me. Glock and roll. Yeah, honestly, that's all it is. It's to look good on the news and give them something to talk about and make the sheep feel safe, because they can go get 2 or 3 sandbags and stack them by the front door and think that they're set for any kind of water intrusion. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way at all. Palmetto State Army used to have a coupon code for the Magpul 308 mags. I do not know, F-18. I will look into that. I'll see what I can find. If I can find it, I'll put something on the Facebook page or somewhere, maybe over on the blog page, wherever. Mr. D, yeah, homemade Gavians are cheaper than HESCOs, obviously, but again, you're talking about a lot of work for a fairly permanent structure. Those aren't things that you just pick up and move after the fact or willy-nilly. So they are definitely more effective. Absolutely more effective. Family's doing good. I am up to my eyeballs in work. This is my rare Sunday afternoon off. I'll probably end up working some tomorrow, even though it's technically a holiday. I'll be working right up until the power goes out, if it goes out. So business is backed up far more than I want it to be. And things like this stupid hurricane don't help any. They affect the business, and that is annoying. Improvised HESCOs and Gabions. Yeah, I mean, you can just Google it. I mean, really, you can find all kind of ways to make them. Hey, Corsair. Oh, sorry. Didn't know you was here. I will catch you later, dude. Be safe. Excuse me. Nuke plants. It takes a pretty intensive process to shut a nuke plant down, just like it takes to start one back up. So no, they typically, to my knowledge, don't shut down, because you don't just flip a switch and turn them off. just like you don't just flip a switch and turn them back on. And if as many people as they serve, if they just flip the switch and shut it off, that puts a lot of people unexpectedly out of power. So they got to try to keep those running pretty much all the time, to my knowledge. Now, I don't work in a nuke plant, so. I'm looking for this, and it's right in front of me, and I can't find it because it's right in front of me. So, unrelated hurricane stuff. I've got two cool things coming up. One is a little secret thing that I'll be doing coming up in the near future that I will be giving you guys some video on. I'm not giving you the details because I want it to be a surprise, but I think you're going to like it. It's going to be pretty cool. It will involve me taking a day or two off of work, which I haven't done in years. So I've got to do it just for my own mental, physical sanity. Coming up in October, I am going to head up one weekend to my good buddy Brush Beater to see him and do a class with him. So I'm hoping that I can get some video and stuff for y'all done. It's going to be a pretty cool class. It's going to be one of his scout classes. I say I hope to get some video done for y'all on that. I like for y'all to be able to see some of the stuff that he's offering and how good it is. The problem that I've run into in the past, anytime I try to do video at classes and stuff, I usually don't get a lot done because I'm usually too busy participating in the class and focusing on that. And I either forget to do the video or it's not where I physically can. So I don't know. So I'm telling you I want to, but I'm not going to promise you that I will. The KS-47, I may take it. It depends. This one's going to be a scout class, so it'll probably have more DMR type work going on in it. But there may be some stuff that we'll be doing that I may take the KS along with me. I don't know. We'll see. It just depends. What else? Trying to read some comments here. Well, yeah, my comments are lagging or they've stopped. No, it looks like they're still going. Boo, we've dropped people. We were up like 46, 47 earlier. We're down to 30 now. Oh, well. All right, guys. Hey, they work great, Jay, for that. I mean, simple and effective. That's why I make them. All right, Glock and Roll, take care. We're fixing to wrap up here anyway. We've been going at it almost an hour, so about another minute we'll probably wrap up. Because I want to go recheck some stuff and get a few other last minute things done. Dry fire improving accuracy, dry fire all the time, every day. It will improve your accuracy. How much is questionable, but it won't hurt your accuracy. Let's put it that way. So yeah, dry fire. Dry fire, dry fire, dry fire. What else? Oh, I'd love to do a tracking class. That's on my to-do list. So, on my to-do list. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. All right, guys. So that's an hour's worth of me rambling about this storm and nonsense. So, to wrap it up, I'm ready for it. My friends and family are ready for it. Now we just got to see what it's going to do. We know it's going somewhere. We just don't know when or where. That's the big question at this point. When, where, and how strong. We don't know. We're ready for it regardless. That's it. Don't buy in 100% to anything that people are saying. There's a lot of amateurs out there that tend to dismiss stuff, and sometimes I think it's intentional because they want you to not be ready because that maximizes the chaos. So, without further ado, if that's it, if the weather goes downhill and gets bad, of course I'll try to get y'all some stuff as I can, but priority will be obviously on taking care of the family and the house and everything first. The other stuff will come second, but if I can, I will. So y'all stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.